Let me be honest with you right from the start because that's the only way this conversation works. When the Steelers announced they were signing Trey Flowers to the active roster, a lot of fans probably shrugged. Some questioned it, some scrolled past it, and a few probably thought, that's it, that's the move. But this signing isn't about hype. It's not about headlines, and it's definitely not about flashy numbers. This move is about survival football. It's about holding the line when the roster is bleeding, when depth is tested, and when the season doesn't care about excuses. Right now, the Steelers are hurting. Not just a little banged up, but genuinely stretched thin. When you're dealing with injuries to cornerstone players like T.J. Watt, when James Pierre is unavailable, when Jaylen Warren isn't at full strength and key contributors are either sidelined or limited, you're not just missing talent, you're missing trust. Trust in matchups. Trust in rotation. Trust that the next man up won't be the reason games slip away in the fourth quarter. And that's where Trey Flowers quietly matters. Flowers isn't being brought in to be a savior. He's not walking into the locker room as a star. He's walking in as a stabilizer, a professional, a guy who has been through NFL chaos and understands what it means to survive Sundays when everything is going wrong. If you look at his journey, it tells you exactly why Pittsburgh made this call. Trey Flowers entered the league with the Seahawks, starting games early in his career, learning coverage in a system that demanded discipline and physicality. He wasn't perfect, but he was trusted. And in this league, trust is currency. Over time, he bounced around, and yes, that scares fans. But what experts consistently point out is that bouncing around doesn't always mean failure. Sometimes it means a player is good enough to be called when teams need experience fast. Analysts who have covered Flowers over the years often describe him as a corner who understands leverage, spacing, and assignments. He's not a ball hawk. He's not going to rack up interceptions, but he rarely looks lost. And when injuries pile up, the worst thing you can have is a defensive back who panics. That's exactly what the Steelers are trying to avoid right now. When T.J. Watt is out or limited, the entire defense shifts. Pressure isn't as automatic. Quarterbacks have more time. And that extra second is deadly for a secondary already adjusting to injuries. Suddenly, corners are covering longer. Safeties are forced to cheat. Mistakes multiply. So the front office didn't just look at cornerback depth, they looked at stress tolerance. Trey Flowers has seen stress. He's played meaningful snaps. He's been targeted. He's been tested. And he's survived in a league that eats young, unprepared corners alive. Experts have pointed out that Pittsburgh's system doesn't demand superstar corners as much as it demands disciplined ones. The Steelers historically thrive when corners understand zones, communicate well, and don't gamble unnecessarily. Flowers fits that mold. He's long, physical, and comfortable playing press when asked. That alone matters when James Pierre is unavailable and rotation options shrink. And let's talk about timing. This signing isn't random, it's strategic. The Steelers aren't thinking 3 years ahead here. They're thinking about the next 3 weeks, about staying afloat while key pieces heal, about not asking young or unready players to do too much too fast. Coaches and analysts alike have emphasized that veteran defensive backs are often at their most valuable during injury waves. They might not dominate, but they prevent collapses. They help align coverages. They talk. They adjust. They calm things down when offenses start attacking mismatches. That's exactly how Flowers would be used. Not as a shutdown corner, but as a plug-and-play defender who allows the rest of the defense to breathe. And there's another layer people overlook. Leadership doesn't always wear a captain's patch. In defensive back rooms, experience travels fast. Younger players listen when someone has seen different systems, different quarterbacks, different schemes. Flowers brings that. Even if he's not starting every snap, his presence matters during prep, film study, and sideline adjustments. Now some fans will bring up his short stint with Detroit this season and say, he didn't even record meaningful stats. And that's fair, but it's also misleading. 2 games don't define a defender, especially when usage is limited and scheme fit isn't established. Evaluators across the league rarely judge veterans on tiny sample sizes. They judge them on body of work and adaptability. And Pittsburgh is one of the few franchises that knows how to maximize exactly that type of player. Let's be clear, this signing doesn't fix everything. If Watt remains out long-term, if the injury list grows instead of shrinking, no single roster move will save the season. But this move shows awareness. It shows the Steelers aren't stubbornly pretending everything is fine. They're reacting. They're adjusting. They're protecting themselves from disaster. And that's what good franchises do. From an honest perspective, I actually like this move, not because it's exciting, but because it's realistic. Too many teams chase splash while ignoring structure. Pittsburgh chose structure. They chose experience over hope. They chose a player who understands how to survive NFL snaps over one who might flash once and disappear. For a young audience watching this team, especially teens and fans in their early 20s, this is a reminder that football isn't just highlights. It's logistics. It's depth charts. It's knowing when to bring in a player who won't make the moment bigger than it already is. And Trey Flowers won't do that. He won't try to be the hero. He'll do his job. And sometimes that's exactly what keeps a season alive. In these critical days, with injuries stacking up and pressure mounting, his contribution won't be measured by interceptions or headlines. It'll be measured by drives that stall, by third downs that don't convert, by receivers who don't break free when they're supposed to. That's the invisible work, and it matters more than most fans realize. So no, this signing won't light up social media. But when the Steelers walk into the next stretch of games battered but breathing, this is the kind of move you look back on and say, that helped. Because championships aren't built only on stars. They're built on moments where depth saves dignity. And right now, Trey Flowers is a necessary piece of that fight.